What's up with my Harley Softail gear changing? Catch you inside. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you enjoy the channel and series of videos. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. So in this video I'm talking about gear changing and clutch issues on your Harley Davidson Softail. I'm on a Sport Glide. There have been reported issues over a period of time. Some are standard, some are not standard or non-standard issues. So I'm just going to go through some of these. Now you can find it in the owner's manual on page 179, and that talks a little bit about the transmission and the clutch as well. So I'll quickly read through those for you, but check those out. But I've also got it actually on the service manual, and we'll just sort of run through the finer points as well. So the transmission shifts hard, is a hard shift, right? It's a bent shifter rod. Okay, so if you've got bent shifter rod, guess what? You need a new one. Okay, the transmission jumps out of gear. Well, you got worn shifter dogs in the transmission. Basically, you've got a within the transmission, within the gearbox, you know, all the different gears, you've got an element which shifts over your gears and it kind of mates up like that. Well, if that is worn, or the actual part of the dog actually going into the next part is worn, there isn't going to be a proper connection there to push it over and to keep it there. That's the most important thing, to keep it there. And so that's why it can slip out of gear as well. Without me actually having a gearbox, I can't actually show you, but that's one of the reasons. Okay, the clutch slips. Okay, so you've got clutch controls improperly adjusted. So if you haven't got it adjusted right on your clutch lever, so on and so forth, down the cabling, it's not going to work. So you need to be adjusted. Okay, so you either do that yourself or you need to take it to a dealer or a mechanic. You've got worn friction discs. Okay, so that could cause your clutch slipping. Insufficient clutch spring tension by the dealer. Okay, also if you've got the clutch drags or does not release, the clutch controls improperly adjusted, you've got primary chain case overfilled, and you've got clutch discs are warped, and then you've got clutch chatters where you've got friction discs or steel discs worn or warped. Okay, so if you've got any of that kind of thing, now you're not going to be able to see any of this from outside the bike. Basically, an internal investigation needs to be done. If you take off the clutch cover, the Derby cover, okay, with that oil seal there, if oil is coming out, primary case is coming out of the primary case, it's overfilled, okay, so there's too much in there. That should never happen, really, unless you've taken your bike to somebody who really doesn't know what they're doing. That's the reason, but that should never happen. Okay, so then you've got the clutch plates. Now, interestingly, warranties don't include clutch. Okay, because it really depends how you ride your bike. If you're riding it hard, if you're, you know, doing burnouts and, you know, really hard gear changing and really excessive, all that kind of stuff, that can easily burn out a clutch if you're on the clutch a lot as well, causing those friction plates and those steel plates to wear. The plate, if it's worn or if it's burnt out, you'll have a burnt appearance to the plate. Okay, it would actually appear really dark, whereas a good one will actually appear, you know, kind of metallic like. Okay, it'd be more shiny, a more clearer picture. Again, with the friction plates as well, they can be worn down as well. So there's a way of from the technicians and the mechanics. Okay, you know, they'll be getting their gauges on there. They'll be checking all the limits of those friction plates, of those steel plates as well, making sure they're within limits or not. And so it might mean that they're all replaced. The whole clutch basket is replaced as well. So, you know, that could be quite an expensive thing. So obviously, depending on how you ride your bike will be really important here. Okay, but anyway, so that's the owner's manual. That's what you can read yourself. But I'm just going to go through the service manual for you and just discuss a few points. Okay, so if it shifts hard, if it's hard shifting, in the UK or anywhere else in the world, we talk about gear changing if it's just a hard gear change, right? The primary chain case, the primary, is overfilled. We've already talked about that, right? The clutch not fully disengaging. The transmission lubricant is too heavy. Could be in the winter, right? Really heavy temperatures as well. Actually, a lot of machines have maximum and minimum operating temperatures. Minimum operating temperatures for this very reason as well. Oil is just too gloopy, becomes too viscous, okay? The shifter return spring inside the transmission is bent or otherwise damaged, it says here. Yeah, if anything is damaged or worn, it's not going to work properly. Same with a bent shifter rod. The shifter forks are sprung. The corners worn off the shifter clutch dog rings inside the transmission. This is all about that moving from one gear to another, one cog to another. If anything's worn or damaged, whatever, in there, it needs replacing. This is as simple as that. It can be quite an expensive thing, I'm afraid. If it jumps out of gear, again, the shifter rod is improperly adjusted. You've got an adjustment issue, which is just an inexpensive fix. The shifter drum is damaged or worn. That could be expensive. You've got shifter engaging parts badly worn or rounded. Again, it comes down to that gear changing mechanism. Bent shifter forks, discuss about that, and damaged gears. If you got a damaged gear, that can happen as well. And again, it depends on what type of gears you've got. Obviously, the Harley Softail range, but if we talk about all Harleys or actually all motorcycles, right, it really depends how you've been riding it, what kind of gears it is. Does it affect all gears? Is it a single gear that's being affected? All that kind of stuff. Whatever it is, you're going to have that gearbox opened up. They have to inspect everything, inspect all the cogs, and also the gear changing mechanisms, and see if there's wear, damage, so on and so forth. So that's something if it's jumping out of gear. So let's say if you've got the clutch that slips as well. The reservoir is over full. Yeah, we know about that. The clutch lever not returning completely. Insufficient clutch spring tension and worn friction discs. Yeah, we've already talked about there. If the clutch drags or does not release, well, the lubricant level too high in the primary chain case. Yeah, we've already talked about that. Primary chain badly misaligned or too tight. Well, if it's a misalignment or if it's too tight, that is an error in its installation, isn't it? So who's at fault there? Well, it's going to be very rare, if unheard of, that this will be a Harley manufacturing issue. This is going to be primarily poor workmanship and whoever's actually gone into the bike, whether it's a home mechanic, whether it's a poor mechanic, a professional mechanic, so on and so forth. This really relates to something, let's say if you've bought a used motorcycle and it hasn't got much service history, or that somebody's been doing all the work themselves. Well, I could do all the work myself on my bike. I usually do a lot of the work on my bike. There are certain things I won't tackle because I haven't got the right tooling, or I haven't got the right knowledge or the right experience there, and that's really important. So you could be buying a bike from somebody who's done all this work and they're not really experienced enough, or they haven't got the correct tooling to do that particular task, and that's why it's not in there properly, or it's not adjusted properly. Okay, so something like that. What do we say? Insufficient clutch spring tension, yeah, and clutch discs warped as well. And then so then also if you've got clutch chattering, whatever, you got friction disc or steel disc worn or warped. Yeah, so if you've got that problem, if it's all warped, if it's all worn, then that whole thing needs to come out, put a new one in. Could be quite an expensive proposition. So obviously if you're riding a bit more conservative on your bike, whatever, if you do want a better performing clutch that's more resistant to a heavier clutch operation, then you can get aftermarket ones that will do that. And obviously you can discuss that with your Harley dealership or your accessories guy or whoever, or you could just try and research this yourself as well. But obviously that's an aftermarket part, that's not a Harley part, so that's something that you're going to have to investigate yourself. But obviously there are options out there, but the clutch isn't covered on the warranty as well. So that's something I was like, oh really, wow, okay, that's interesting. So just be aware of that and how it is. Now, obviously, a new bike shouldn't really have clutch issues. It really shouldn't, even 2-3 year, unless it's been absolutely pounded by the rider. It shouldn't be at all. You know, we're talking about a bike that's got, you know, 40, 50, 60,000 miles on it. You know, probably more than that, that's going to have issues, worn friction discs, steel disc, whatever. Apart from that, unless there's been an installation issue, unless there's been a poor maintenance issue, unless there's been a poor riding issue, then that could be the case as well. But anyway, hope this helps you out as well. As I say, there's, you know, the more information that you have, the better understanding you have of it, and the better ability you'll have to be able to diagnose an issue, but also relay any information to your mechanic or to your technician to be able to diagnose a fault, or for you to diagnose it yourself and come up with a solution to get you back on the road as soon as possible. Unfortunately, with clutch issues, problems, and with gearbox issues, it could be an expensive proposition, I'm afraid. So, you know, watch out for that. Anyway, please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below, check out the website at RevelatorAlf.com, and I'll catch you on the next video. Well, coming soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf.